So we should start now. First of all, welcome everyone and thank you for joining this webinar. This is Mridul Arya and I'll be your online internship coach as well as I'm a civil structural design engineer and I usually design buildings in Indian and US projects. Okay, so today in this webinar, first thing I want to tell you that why I'm doing this. First, I want to tell you that why I'm doing this, and the reason behind doing these webinars is to connect new engineers from academics to the civil engineering industry. Okay, this is my basic motive for doing all the online courses and online internships as well as these webinars. Okay, now in this webinar, what we will discuss is first is planning and planning for the framing of a new structure. Then we will come to the key plan, and I'll tell you what key plan is. Key plan is basically a representation of your beams and columns and other structural elements on the plan to relate your calculation. Okay, you will add your beams and columns and structural elements on a specific plan, specific key plan, and you will do a nomenclature of those. You will do the numbering for each and every element, and you will refer back all those elements to your structural calculation. Okay, and this key plan is a basic requirement for creating a design calculation report. Okay, you have to have a key plan which you will relate to your calculation. Okay, you will show that this specific element which you designed where it is on the plan. Okay, that's the basic use of this key plan. Next, we'll do is comparison of floor plans. Then we'll do naming of framing elements on the key plan, how we should proceed with the naming, what order you should follow, and what element you should consider in first, and what element you can name later on. Okay? And the last thing we'll discuss is how all these information which we want to discuss in today's webinar, how the information is useful while designing a structure. Okay? So before we start, I want to tell you that why this webinar is really important. Okay, so when I first joined the company, okay, my voice is very low. Okay, is it okay right now? So when I first joined the company, my boss told me to design a project on the very first day. So I really don't have any idea how to design a project. Okay, first time I was seeing a structural plan, structural drawing, and I don't know what elements represent what and what this all drawing is about. Okay, so although I have seen drawings from a Indian structure during my academics, but the project I was seeing was the US project, and I had to design a wood building at that time. So I couldn't understand anything on that plan. So that time I realized that these are the basic things I should know. At least I should know how to start a design. Okay, and definitely I knew how to design a beam, how to design a column. It doesn't matter if material is different, but you know the basic concept how to design a beam and column. But you should know when you have a project on your table how to start with, where you should start. Okay, so that's why I created this webinar to let new engineers know how to start with, okay, how to start structural design of a project from very beginning. Now, as you can see, we have a plan on screen, and it's a ground floor plan of a simple Indian house. Okay, we will start with a simple plan and then we will level up. Okay, so this is a basic ground floor plan and we will do framing on this. So this is our first floor plan. So as you can see, the ground floor and first floor plans are quite similar. Now what we will do is we will compare both plans to see which walls are in common and where we can provide our columns to have a minimum hindrance and minimum visibility on the plan. Okay, our structural and we'll try best to hide our structural elements in the walls so that they don't they don't create any issue with architectural aspect. Okay, that's really important. Now, what we will do is we will compare these two plans in our AutoCAD model. Okay. As you can see, we have AutoCAD model of these two plans. Now, first, what will I do? I will remove all the unnecessary things from these plans. Okay, I will just copy these two here, and I will remove all unnecessary things from the plan. Like I will text. You should know what element you should remove and what element you need to keep. We need to keep all the bathroom fixtures so that we know that at these locations we cannot provide our structural elements so that piping cannot cause any issue. Okay? We cannot let pipe pass through columns and structural elements. Okay? We keep all the bathroom fixtures as it is. Now we can remove furniture as it doesn't play any role in structural design. Okay, we can remove LCD cabinets. I will keep these partition walls so that if it's possible to use these partition walls to hide any column or portion of column we can hide from these, which is really good. Okay, we can remove that as well. And we can remove. Okay, now what will I do next is I will create a new layer that I already created. We will create a new layer to just specify this specific ground floor that this specific color only represents the ground floor. And same I will do for the first floor. Okay, I will create two different layers with a different color and I will try to keep those color light and different so that I can see both colors on each other. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm imposing those plans on each other and I will try to find out where the discrepancies are. Okay? I will try to find out which are the common areas that we can utilize to provide our structural elements. Okay? So I will select this whole plan and I will just change it layer to the level 1 level. Okay? Now you can see that some elements already converted but most of the elements not. So I will go to the properties and select by layer. Now most of the elements are converted, but there are still elements which are not on my right column. Now what I will do, I will just load all these elements Okay, so that's how we do it. Okay, and same I will do for the first floor plan. Okay, now after doing this, you will see my plans like this. Okay, I remove all the unnecessary elements from it. This is my ground floor and this is my first floor. Another thing I did was I created a block for this. Okay, you will select the whole plan and you will just create a new block, give it a name, and just hit it okay. And this whole plan will be a single block. Why I'm doing it? Why I'm doing this is because when I overlap these and I want to select a specific plan, I can select the whole plan at once. Okay, like this. Now, if I want to shift one plan, I just need to select a block and just move it. I don't need to select each and every element. Right? Okay. That's the benefit of creating block on this space. So I will just overlap this, okay, and I will just rotate it. Now you can see the large picture of this. Now I will start placing my columns in this area. Okay. So that's my column is the red color. Okay. So I will find out which are the common areas that we have. Okay. So you see blue color and I will just select the background area. Okay. Now I will find okay, this is the common area we have, the outer wall, and that the wall also is common. This this wall is also common. Okay. Most of the walls are common. Okay. Now you can see there's a different hatching in this area and the solid hatching we have in this area. So that implies that there's something different going on in this area. So we need to check out what it is. So in this case, this hatching represents the half height of the wall. Okay, that means this wall will go up to the half height. After that, there will be a steel net will be there. Okay, so you cannot provide your columns in that location until unless your architect approves it. Okay, still we will try to avoid this situation and we will start placing our columns from very easy place like first this place. Okay, the next place I will go is this. Okay, after that I will go at this place. Okay, next I will come to at the place like this. Now you see, I'm trying to place columns on a straight grid, vertical or a horizontal. I'm not trying to place columns randomly because I will try to reduce the moments and torsion on the beam. Okay, more your beam will rested on each other, more torsion and moments will occur. Okay, the more critical your beam will be. So you will always try to bring down your beam directly to your column wherever possible. Okay, so looks like there is something that is not aligned. So I will just align this column to this. Okay. Okay. Now our next column will be at this location because we cannot provide columns on this place, so we will try to provide at this side. Okay. Next, my column will be at this location. Okay, I'll also see that if I will also try to reduce the span of the beam as much as possible, but I will also keep in mind that I cannot provide too many columns. Okay? So increasing number of columns will increase your costing of the building. Okay, it's really directly proportional to number of your columns. But it's not that you provide 100 feet of your span or 20-30 meter of span of your beam. Okay, that is also should not be done. But you will always try to reduce columns from your building. Okay, that will directly reduce the cost of your building. Now the next easy place a column is this. Similarly, I will place column at this location. It's really good to start with easy points so that you can keep fixing your location of your column. Okay, next location will be this. Okay. After that, the another location of my column will be at this location. Whenever you have a staircase and lift, you will provide columns at all the ends of your staircase or the lift. Okay. In the case of lift, usually we will go with shear walls, but if you are not going with the shear walls, then try to place four columns at all four corners of your lift and try to place all four corners at the corners, all four columns at all the corners of your staircase as well. So in this case, I'm providing a column at this location. It's not edge of the staircase, but it's nearby, so we can take it. Next, what I will do, I will place my next column either this location or I will try to place column at this location. Okay, so let me place columns at both locations and I'll tell you where we will go. Now, in the both case, when I will try to place my beam, the beam will go like this. Okay, and for the another column, my beam will go like this. Now, in the both case, my beam is exposed in my living area, so that is definitely will not be preferred by architect. So I will remove this beam scenario and similarly I will remove this column. Okay. Now, my next column location will be this. Okay. Now you can see that is my ground floor and that is my first floor. Okay. My bathroom on the first floor is this big, but my bathroom on the ground floor is this size. So what happens is when you provide a column at this location, you can easily provide your beam at this place. Okay? Here. Okay? This will be your beam, but that beam will be at your ground floor room. Okay? Now that there will be no problem, but when you come on the first floor and when you try to place a beam at this location, then what will happen is your beam will interfere with the bathroom. So you can provide beam at this location your architect allows you, but you will try to avoid the situation and maybe you will try to place a beam at this situation. Okay, in the both option you are okay. Okay, in this option your beam will rest on the another beam at both locations. Okay, we will try to avoid the situation if possible, but if we have to go with it, we will go with it. Okay, so now the next column location. Next column I will place at this location. Okay. Now you can have option to rotate it if your pipelines are not there in this way. You can choose both options, either go horizontally or go vertically. Okay. Okay. Both options you can choose, but I will really prefer to avoid this. Okay. Because I will always try to place my beams on major axis of the column which beam has a larger span. Okay, larger beam span should be directly supported on major axis of the column. Whenever it is possible, you will do that. Okay, otherwise what will happen is movement will increase at your minor axis and your column will become unnecessarily very heavy. Okay, now the next column location will be this location, and I will tell you why we are providing column at this location. Now, similarly, I will provide column at this location. Let me check what is the span of this. This is 23 feet, approximate 24 feet span. I can go with big beam, but I will try to avoid this situation and place it on column. Okay. You can go with, but beam will be unnecessarily heavy. Now we almost placed all the columns. Okay. So what will I do? I will just select all these columns and try to place on my plan. Okay. This is my first row and this is my ground floor plan. I copy all the columns and I will place those separate. We have all the plans right here. Now what will we do now is we will start placing beams. Okay, so this is our first beam, and you can add, and I will quickly just copy these like this, and next beam will be this, and that will be a beam. This will be a beam. First, we'll try to place beam at these spots. Similarly, we did it on like we did for the column. Okay, and this is the place. Okay, now I will copy my other view to this location. Now, when we come to this location, there will be like this, and, and for this location, the beam will be like this. But you see, by beam is unsupported in this location. So what will I do? I will just increase beam length from there and create a cantilever portion. This beam will support this unsupported beam. Okay, and my next beam will be this location. After that, my beam will be at this location. Okay, from there will be at this place. Okay, so this is our ground floor plan beam. Now you see, I didn't provide any beams in the hall, the living area, and that was a requirement of architect so that he doesn't need to have a beam in the living area, but we do need a beam at staircase. So that's the beam for the staircase. Now, and there will be another beam at the staircase. So we will try to cover all the major loading points wherever we have at least 9-inch thick wall. We will try to place beams below that wall because 9-inch thick wall has a very high load compared to single brick wall, and single brick wall is usually considered as a partition wall. Partition walls can be directly placed on the structural slab. Okay, so it's not really always necessary to provide beams below single brick wall or partition walls. You can avoid that, but you will always try to place beams below 9-inch brick wall, okay, or structural loading wall. Okay, we place the beam. Okay, now you see this is a cutout area. That area is cut out. So what we have to do is we have to place a beam here and there, and similarly we have to place a beam at other point of cutout so that we can separate out these both portions, and these both portions are bathrooms, and usually bathroom and balcony sometimes are considered as sunken area. Okay. The sunken area, what generally happens is this is your beam in the sunken area, and in general case we usually have a slab like this. Okay. This is our the slab, and this is okay. This is our slab. This is the general case where we have a beam and we have a slab, and our top of slab matches with our top of beam. Okay, this is the general scenario, and after that we have a floor finish like this. This is all elements hide within the floor. Now, for the sunken case, what happens is our slab is placed at slightly down. Okay, now it depends totally on requirement of sunken area, whether you require to have a bigger area or less area, or a specific dimension you want to have sunken. So from sunken, you can have your slab bottom match with your beam bottom, or you can provide a specific height for it. Okay, you can keep your slab at this location as well. Okay, so this area, hollow area you are saying, that we call a sunken area. And what happens is when you provide a slab at this location, this hollow portion is filled by hollow blocks. and after that the floor finish continues at the same level. Or there's one more catch is here. If you want to lower down your floor, you can do that as well. You can reduce your hollow blocks and you just give a drop in your floor, okay, and you just directly place your floor finisher in it. Okay. That's how your floor finish drop will be. Okay. That's what a sunken area is. That's what will be required at these bathroom places. Okay, and see this is our balcony here, so we will provide our beams for the balcony as well. You need to notice that when you are placing your beams on your ground floor, you are considering all the loads from the first floor. Okay. You will have your ground floor. Okay, this is your ground floor. Okay, and this will be your first floor. Now in the middle, this is your structural floor. So what I am doing is whatever load I have on the first floor, that load will directly go down on this structural floor. Okay, and the what load I have on the ground floor, that load will directly go on footings. Okay, I don't need to provide any special element until and unless this floor is supported on another floor. That means we have a basement below it. Okay, so this is our first floor and the first element, and then we have a next floor. This next floor is supported on structural floor. This structural floor we need to design for ground floor so that our beams can be hidden inside ground floor wall. Plus, these beams and structural slab can take load from my first floor. Okay, so now I will also check that is it working good or not. Okay, it's working really fine. Just in one case at this location. Okay, so I have to choose whether I have to go with this location or not. Okay, that depends on your architecture. That's how we completed the framing for these floors. Okay. Now, as your staircase is going out, I will also place beam at this location, and sometimes we have to provide these beams as inclined beams because our stairs will be inclined. So it depends on requirement of structural element and requirement of the site. Okay, that's how you will go with this situation. Okay, and in the balcony, we have option to have a beam at this location. If you are providing this balcony as a sunken, then you need to go with beam. Otherwise, you can leave it as it is. If it's not required to provide a beam for aesthetic view, okay, we can leave it as it is, and we can design our slab as a cantilever slab, which will back span to this specific slab. Okay, this will be our main slab, and this slab will be my cantilever slab. Okay. But I will have a beam at landing level at staircase. Okay. So now this is our portion for the plan of a simple ground floor and first floor case. Okay. Now I'll show you how we will see the structural plan of this building. Okay. That's our structural plan for this specific building that we created. Okay. You can see we provided the same as that we draw. So these, this beam is regional, okay, as well as you see this beam we are providing as inclined beam, okay, to support my staircase. Okay, same as this beam, okay, line. This beam is okay. Now you need you also need to see if your slab is not very big, because if your slab is bigger, your enforcement and your depth of slab can also increase. Okay, so a uniform slab is not necessary that you will provide. You have to provide a uniform thickness for the whole slab. Okay, if you need to provide a specific depth or a specific panel, you can do that as well. Okay, but you will try to avoid that situation wherever possible. Okay, we will try to keep whole slab. I will try to place the whole slab for the same level, like I'm doing for if I'm providing 150 mm thickness for the whole slab, I'll try to keep it 150 mm. But if I'm trying, like this situation we have at this location, I provided a specific beam of thickness 6 inches, although it's not a beam, but I just over reinforce this slab to support additional movement. Okay, so in this case, what we will do is we will provide a specific thickness for this slab, like if I'm going with 150 mm. So if my voice is not clear, is it clear right now? Is it clear my voice right now? Is it okay? Okay, so if I'm providing slab thickness of 150 mm at this place, may be possible that my design required here is only 125 mm. Okay, I can do this as well. I can have a difference in both slabs, but I will try to avoid this situation. So I provided additional reinforcement in this slab, and I will create this slab as 150. Okay, but I will try to design this slab as a whole. I will not consider this specific beam in design. Okay, that is totally additional and over safety factor for this case. Okay, but my design should pass for 125 mm. Okay, it's not that my design is passing for 150 mm, and I will just assume that my beam will be here and I will design it for 125 mm. Okay, that will not be a case, but my design should definitely pass for 125 mm. Okay, now that we completed, next we'll move to level 1, and that's plan and plan that this is a multi-story building, and this building was G plus 4 building. The ground floor was built and it was parking area. And in this building, the all floors are same. from first floor to the last floor. Okay, every floor was same and same planning was there. So I'm not repeating my comparison of plans here because that's really not necessary. But in this case, what I will do is I will start placing columns at this location currently. So let's start with it. And you can also see that this building is quite similar. Okay, this area and this area is same as this area. Okay. These three areas are totally same, just one specific area is different. Okay. So what we will do is we will start placing columns in one area and we'll try to copy all these. So first I will do is I will create columns. This, this, that my first column will be, and my next column will be at this location. Did you notice that I'm always trying to place my columns at the corners first? Okay, I will always try to find the weakest place and the simplest place where I can start with. Okay? The more I will find these places, the more I will move further, okay, and start defining each and every step. Next, my column will be at the same level as the other place. Okay, you see, I'm still following my try to maintain my grid. Okay, and let me draw these same time. That will be happy. Next week, after next week. Yes, Ansuman, I will share recording of webinar. Okay, don't worry. Now, next stream will be at this location. Like audio is not very clear to you guys. Is it okay now? Let's get this done. Is it okay now? Can you hear me? Okay, so let's move further. My next position for the column is this. This area is also same as below. And this. Now, obviously we are at staircase portion, so I will try to place my column at the edge of staircase where I can write my column. Okay. Now you need to notice that if you have a portion for parking, my ground floor is totally open, okay, and it's not like that I can provide columns at everywhere, okay, but what I will do is I will try to maintain a specific distance so that my cars can park at charge place and they can move and rotate freely. Okay, that I really need to look at. Okay, so sometimes your architect will tell you the location of car parking and approximate location for the columns and each scenario, but you have to consider that situation as well, and you definitely need to discuss this with your architect when you provide columns and when you decide that you should provide columns for that. Okay. Now we have a lift at this portion as well. So what I will do is I will use my column at this place. As we are not providing any clear wall at this location for the lift, I will just shift my column at this location. Now the same thing that we did in the last plan, I will create a cantilever beam here with the this. Okay. My next beam will be at this location. I will try to cover each and every block, okay, and we'll move to the next block. In the large building, it's really easy to go with block by block so that you just complete each and every step one by one. Okay. Now we are stuck at this location where we have a balcony. So what you can do is we have a nice thick wall here, so we need to provide a beam. I will try to provide a beam and with a cantilever. Now I have two options. One option is that I will design one slab and I will design this slab and I will do a cantilever slab for the balcony. Okay, that's my option. But what happens is you see we have a column, we have a toilet and kitchen here. So my architect's requirement to have a concern at these two locations. Now the situation is your slab at your room will be like this, and your upper level, let me draw you. This is your upper floor slab, the room slab, and your toilet slab and kitchen slab will be like this. So there will be a gap between these two. So how you will connect those? What I will do, I will just place a beam, and the beam will go like this. It's my choice if I can hang my beam at this position, okay, and keep this slab as a cantilever slab. Okay. We have both options open. If I go with this, I will generate more torque into the beam, this specific beam. And if I leave it here, I can just reduce my force on this beam and torque. Okay, so first I will try to keep this beam at this location. Next, same location we have at this place. That's copied correctly. My next beam will be at this location, this same cantilever. Now, interesting thing is whenever you have a staircase in your building, you need to know that your staircase landing is the most important thing that you need to consider because your staircase landing will be at mid height. Okay, your this is your column. Okay, this is your floor height. This is your bottom floor, and your staircase landing will be somewhere. So how you gonna propose it? Okay, so what I will do, I will just have a beam at mid height between these two columns. I have column at going to full height. I will cast my column till this height and provide a beam at this location. Okay, that's going in transfer direction. Understand that that's going forward. Okay, now we came to the next part, the next block. My column will be at this place. I'm still seeing the same situation, so I will just directly placing the beam, and this beam will be seen as the below one. Now, the next case at this location, I have a wall here. So first I will place my anticipation that I know that I have a beam. Now the next case is if we can provide column or beam to your staff, that's really good. Okay, it's really good if you can provide a beam crossing through your staff, but in our case, that's not going to happen. Okay, and another case is the same room will have a different level and these two will have a sunken floor. Okay, so I need to have a beam between these two as well. Okay, and I need to have a beam at this location as well. Okay, so I told you about the parking spaces. So my architect wants to have a specific length of this. So that left me with no option to have a column and this. Now, where should I place my next column? My next column would be at this location, and I will just rotate it and make it. That means will be at this place, and this beam will be at this place. And this beam will have a cantilever base. Now, your next situation is this beam you have to bring at this place. Now, you see, your this cantilever portion is facing a lot of forces here. This beam is going to support this total portion, and that will also create a torsion. But in our case, if we cannot avoid it, we have to go with it. Okay. Now, my next location for the column will be opposite to this, and similarly at this location. Okay, that's how it is. This will be a beam, and my next beam will be and this means I have to go with the cantilever portion because I have a 9 inch thick wall here. I need to support that. That's how you will continue and portion. Okay. I will send you this file to guys to create a key plan for this. I really want you to submit that back to me on this. Now let me tell you the naming of the each and every element. So for the column, I will always recommend you to go grid wise. I will mark that as C1. Okay, that will be C2. You can go in this direction as well. It's okay, not a, but wherever you have a specific grid aligned to each other, better you should go with that way. Okay. See, I have this grid, one grid. I have second grid, the third, fourth, and similarly I will have a grid at this location, five and six. I will only have six grids at this location, but when I will consider this portion, there will be a lot of grids. So I will try to keep this low grid portion. See, your naming should be like the person who is reading your structural calculation should have very easy to understand it. Okay, the more easy to understand your calculation report will be, the better it will be. Okay, your E4 like that will move. Now we come to the beam portion. In the beam portion, you have two options. One is go block by block, okay, or go grid by grid. In this case, when your structure is large, very big project you are working on, I would really suggest you to go with block by block, because when you start design and when somebody is checking, it's really easy to know that how many blocks we have already checked or how many blocks we already designed. Okay, so I will keep naming these like this. And next important thing is first name being which is totally independent of everything. Okay, like this beam. This beam is placing load on other beams and itself is totally independent. Okay, or you can name this beam as a B1. I will name this beam as B2. Okay, next my beam will be B3 and this beam will be B4. That will be my B5 beam and last beam will be B6. Okay. Now you see this beam is totally independent. So when I have to calculate my load, this independent beam can be correctly designed without dependence on other beams. When I move to the next beam, this beam is also independent. Now when I come to the B3, I know that I just designed B2, I can directly make load from B2 and use it on B3. This same thing applies when you check your design or check somebody else's calculation. It's really easy to have a nearby beam which are dependent on each other. And it's always good to design to name independent beam first and then name the dependent beam later on. Okay. Similarly, we name beam, the beam name the next beam. Now, in this case, you can use the same number as this total long string. String will also be 5, that benefit of going with block by block. If you have similar blocks in your building, blindly go with the block by block because you don't have to design each and every element again and again, and you don't have to rename your each and every element again. Okay, That- that's how we do naming. Now we covered your training plan, we already compared floor plan, we do the naming, and this plant is called or key plan or framing key plan, whatever you want to name it. I will send you this PDF and CAD file as well, and I really want you to create a new and fresh key plan. Okay? If you need any help, you can rewatch this video. I will share you the link. And I will really appreciate if you guys can resubmit like key plan to me back. Okay, I will really appreciate if somebody can create a better key plan than I created. Okay, so that's all for today. And the important thing that this information is useful and how it's useful is now you see we have named all the beams, all the columns. What happens is when I create my structural report, I will first look for my key plan. Okay, where is my key plan? Is? Okay, so my first point will be looking for key plan. By key plan, I will understand that okay, how many elements are designed in this building. Okay, and how many things I need to check for its design. Okay, for a designer, that was a perspective of a checker, and now the perspective of a designer is when I already created these things, I know that this specific block, if I design this block, this block will automatically be designed. Okay. Similar will be applied on this position, this position. Okay. So technically, in this whole building, you have to design only couple of blocks, and you will find that by creating a key plan. Okay? And also, you will understand how the load path is going to be. Okay? How your loads are going to transfer on the beam, how your load path is going to transfer on your column. Also, you already place your columns along with your orientation. Okay? In this building, most of your columns are the vertical direction. Now, when we come to the seismic or the wind part, the lateral design comes to the plane that we need to check whether providing all the columns in vertical direction is sufficient or not. Okay, maybe you need to have more columns in horizontal direction to the plane. So at least you will have an idea that my most of the columns are vertical. Maybe I face some problem in lateral design. So what you will do is you will already try to place columns in horizontal direction as well, the other direction as well. Okay, that's the benefit of your plan. Okay, you know what your building design gonna be, okay, and how you will proceed with the design. Okay, in this case, before I start designing for beams and columns, I really want to check my lateral design, which is the sizing or split design. First, then I will go to the beams and columns design because that's really necessary. And if my requirement needs to place my column in the other direction, I will first check my P plan and redo things and try to place my column in the other direction. Okay? Then I will start with the gravity design. That is your general field and dead load and line load. Okay? So that's it for today. Okay. So we are ending this webinar right now. So let me know if you like this, and I'm gonna share this recording to you guys, and your certificate will be visible on your email. Okay. So thank you for attending this again. Okay. See you guys next time. We will be hosting another webinar shortly. Okay. I will notify you to please check Google visit. Okay. See you guys the next time.